wherever you are. So like I say, on a Friday, my own private practice around this time is very much about wrapping up some things from this week, letting go of the things I don't need to carry forward, making sure I'm carrying forward the right things. So it's not just about letting go of everything. It's about, making sure that I'm mindful of what I need to put on my list. And I am a list maker. Maybe some of you are too, but put it on the list going forward. But then trying not to have it on my mind though over the weekend. And let's see if we can make some protected time and transition into that protected time. If indeed that's what you want to do. Some people like working at the weekends too. Remember those 2 steps of mindfulness, being aware of now. That's what the practices are really about. But then what you do with that awareness, the positive choices you make, that will look very unique for each of us in our own lives. But of course, we do that first step. We make that connection with now, slowing the mind, body, and emotions down, creating the space. And today we'll do that a little bit more in the mind than we've done this week, just because we don't want to have those things on the mind if we want to enjoy a weekend. So as always, we begin by making ourselves nice and relaxed wherever we are, just comfortable in our own environment, happy in our personal space. Just as we always do, that very first step is about connecting with now. Unless you're particularly going to focus on external things, maybe you're sort of doing a mindful painting retreat or something. But normally the process is to notice outside of ourselves first, so then we go into the mind, body and emotions and work there. So we'll take that journey today as well. So if you'd like to close your eyes, please do so. If you want to keep them open, that's fine too. Well, let's begin by taking a few moments to ground ourselves in our environment and to notice what's going on around us right here, right now. So it's quiet where I am today, but what's it like where you are too? Maybe there's different sounds you can hear. Maybe there's different sounds you can hear. For example, I live near Wellesbourne Airfield, and usually, particularly on a clear day, we have airplanes coming and going, helicopters even. But I've just noticed there's none of that, of course, now. And then as we begin to move the awareness inside of ourselves, our body temperature is a nice sort of midway point for that. Noticing parts of the body that are warmer right now for you. And parts that are cooler too. I've noticed my hands and face are quite cold. I've just been out taking the dog a quick walk. It's a cooler day today. The wind is quite fresh. And we're moving the awareness inside of ourselves as we begin to embody the moment. So we're finding out what we're like right here, right now. And with me, I always use the natural breath to sort of start off with. So can we just notice that natural breath, please? Try not to change it, of course. But just noticing its natural rhythm without the mind's interference. Connecting with how this natural breath is moving the body, what the pace of it is, what the depth of it is. So we're pushing our awareness to noticing the features of now. As always, as we do this, you might just start to feel some bodily tension. You might naturally just start to let go of it too. We'll do some more formal work on that in a moment. If you do notice it, just try to let it happen. And now we've been aware of the natural breath, we're in a great position to bring a positive change to the breath. And this breath is going to, of course, have a knock-on effect to our other mind, body, and emotion systems. So if you've been with me before, you can find your mindful breath rhythm now, please. If you've not been with me before, the mindful breath rhythm is just a deeper rhythm than your natural one, a more intentional breath. We work on a breath that's as close as we can to being 4 or 5 seconds on the in-breath and 4 or 5 seconds on the out-breath. And we can just allow this new breath to be an anchor point for us, a grounding place for us, a place we can always come back to when the mind wanders, because each new breath is a new moment to be in. So we can let the mind focus upon this breath, noticing how it sounds now, how it feels to breathe this way. And of course, how the body is moving now with the bigger breath. This really helps us to notice the change in rhythm that we've brought. Of course, this breath and this rhythm can be whatever we want it to be. It can be a cleansing rhythm. It can be an assertive, strength-building rhythm. Or it can be a nice, relaxing rhythm too. The more we can focus on the breath, the less chance there is for the mind to wander away and worry about other things. We're going to spend a little bit of time in the mind today, just navigating the thoughts, deciding which ones are important we need to carry forward, which ones we've already dealt with, they're in the past, we don't need them, and of course sifting out the random peripheral thoughts that are bound to come and grab the attention too. But in all my teachings, I highly recommend before you go into the mind, you just try to release some bodily tension first. And so we can do that with the shortest of the body scans. So keeping the big, deep rhythm of the breath, please. Let's just scan the lower half of the body. Just notice it. And if there's anywhere that you feel might need a few breaths just to help it to relax, just as you do on a longer body scan, we can just use the in-breath to either notice the part of the body or tense it. And then the out-breath can be the release and relax breath. So on the lower half of the body, let's just spend a few breaths there, working on anywhere that might need some help. And then we can move the awareness up to the upper half of the body, A few more specific areas to take note of here. The shoulders are a barometer of our tension levels, and the back of the neck is a store of stress and strain. And again, let's just take a few breaths to release any tension we might find in the upper body. Just remember the out breath is the expression breath in whatever you're doing, whether it be releasing tension like we are now, or letting go of unwanted thoughts that we'll do in a moment, or out there in everyday life. If you're expressing or you're doing, it's the out breath where we have more control over. We're steadier, we're more grounded. And that's why in most things, the out breath is always the expression breath. Well, hopefully we've released some tension from the lower and upper body. Last point of call always in a body scan is at the forehead. So can we just notice our forehead, maybe the face as well, relaxing the facial muscles as much as we can. Let's try to let go of any frowning or grimacing we might be doing. Let's try to let go of any lingering headache, worry or tension we might have. And with the awareness of the forehead, we're simply going to try to move it back into the mind itself. So if you've been to one of my classes, we call this witnessing the mind. It's as if we've taken a step back, we want to see our thoughts in front of us, as if maybe on a stage or a screen. But we want to detach from the thoughts. We don't want to be carried away with them. It's going to happen, so don't worry when it does. We'll just bring it back. The phrase we use here is that we want to observe our thoughts without being absorbed into them. And to do this, just keep the breath rhythm. In-breath is still the noticing breath. Only now we're going to notice whatever is on the mind, accepting whatever we find from absolutely nothing to some random abstract thoughts, maybe to a busy mind with lots of clear thoughts, maybe just to one single vivid thought. The idea, though, is that we notice and accept with the in-breath, and then with the out-breath, we make some choices. And I'll just run you through the different thoughts we might have and how I would use this practice on at the end of a week. And we'll have some quiet time of you watching and navigating your thoughts, trying to let go of the things we don't need, and just flag up the things you do need going forward. So as you're watching your mind, and keep doing it as I'm chatting, you will notice, of course, some random peripheral thoughts will come up. That's just the unconscious mind doing its thing. So when you notice a random peripheral, weird, wonderful, scary, embarrassing thought that doesn't mean anything to you, really try with your out-breath to breathe that one away. Tell yourself, I don't need to give that any more energy right now. That's just taking up mind space and mind energy. Now for me, as I'm doing this now, I notice there are thoughts that are coming up from things I've had to do this week that I've done. So they're in the past, but my mind still wants to mull over them. So if you find any thoughts that are like that, things you've done, you've drawn a line under it, you can't go back and do it again. Again, they're things that we want to try to let go of now. so that we've got extra capacity and space to deal with the things that are either now or coming up. And the other types of thoughts that may come up now are thoughts about things which are left undone. They're still on the go. And of course, you might have many of those. I do at the end of this week. So if those kind of thoughts come up, we want to accept those like we do all. But if you're like me, they're on a list somewhere, you're going to come to them at a certain time, we've scheduled them. Again, try to convince yourself that it's okay to let those go too. We can park those thoughts. They're scheduled in. When I'm doing this, I often say to myself, that will have its moment when it comes. And then hopefully we're creating some space for the mind to sort of do its work. So it may give us thoughts that are not on our lists. It may give us things we've not even thought about yet. So if those kind of thoughts come up on the out-breath, acknowledge their importance, flag them up if you like, but tell yourself you'll deal with them once we've finished this practice. The habit of the mind is to wander into them now. That's what we don't need. Don't worry, your mind will remember if you flag it, if you acknowledge its importance. But just tell yourself you'll put that down, you'll think about it after we've finished here. So we've got a couple of minutes left in the session today. Let's just have some quiet time watching the mind, navigating the thoughts, trying not to be absorbed into any, but if it happens, just bringing the mind back to the breath, back to the present moment, and just witnessing the mind again as we go forward. And hopefully you found today that by letting go of the things from the past, letting go of the things that we've scheduled in, it just creates that space in us to either just rest, maybe not a lot of things going on in the mind, but also just to allow those things that are important to have some airtime for us to flag up. But if we can try to use this kind of technique to move into a mindset where we can let go of all of that now until we come back to it maybe next week, being confident that it's there, it will have its moment, it will all have their moments. And we'll be in those moments, and we have the capacity to deal with them as they come and go. But for now, let's just focus back upon the breath. As we begin the process of coming back out of the short meditation we've done today, just reconnecting with the breath and how it sounds, how it feels, and how it moves the body right now. As we come out of this state, if there is anything that you've flagged up, it will come back out with you too. So let's come back into our normal waking state by using 3 slightly quicker breaths. Opening the eyes, have a stretch, a shuffle, a drink, whatever you might need. And if there was something that came to mind during that practice, you might want to jot it down now. But hopefully that's helped us just to start to transition from the working week into the weekend. To see which things we can let go of from the week, which things we need to carry forward, and which things will come in their own time. So hopefully you've came back to your normal waking state okay. Please feel free to pop anything on the chat if you want to for the final couple of minutes. We're just working with thoughts there today. A lot of people think that mindfulness is about having a clear mind. The more you practice mindfulness, the more likely it is that you'll have more moments of clarity in the mind, absolutely. But the starting point is always what's actually going on in the mind right now, and particularly with modern mindfulness, which is always about how do we navigate life. You know, Buddhist mindfulness makes, or mindfulness linked to other faiths too, makes big lifestyle choices. Modern mindfulness is about, hey, I'm going to have to think, I'm going to have to plan, I'm going to have a to-do list. But how do I balance that in a healthy way is what really we've worked on today. Debbie, oh, lovely. I hope you're okay. Great to hear from you. Absolutely. Share it with anybody you like. Absolutely. Harps, thanks very much. Yeah, it's often interesting, particularly on a Friday. When you do this, you realize, actually, I've done so much. I can let all that go. You know, it's been dealt with. Yes, there's still things on the list. Yes, there's things that will emerge going forward. But actually, if I can let go of that baggage, if you like, from the past, that frees up that capacity for us to deal with now and deal with the journey ahead. Absolutely. Yeah, please do. Yeah, this is, as I say, this is not really attached to the university in any way, so you know, it can go anywhere. Patronism, yeah, absolutely. If you're new to mindfulness, then absolutely, you because we're dealing with slightly different states of consciousness. Your mind says, oh, I know the waking state and I know the sleeping state, and there's a few grey areas in between, but there it's dominant ones. So just as we're shifting from the waking state, the mind just thinks, hey, I'm going towards sleep, and it opens that door. In time, and it sounds like you found this today, your mind just learns, okay, so I don't need to be asleep here, but I can slow down and let go. In Buddhist literature, if you're interested, it's called the process of samatha, slowing the mind, body, and emotions down. In modern mindfulness, we have the psychological phrase called restful alertness. So it's where the mind learns, I can be alert, I can be aware, but also I can be calm, and the body can be calm, and the emotions can be calm too. So just a new state that we're growing in us. Mike, thanks very much. Sorry, Patrick, he says, is it normal to forget what happened soon afterwards? Yeah, that's that different state of consciousness idea again. It's like when we have a great bit of creativity in the day, and we think, oh, that's wonderful. And then when we try to write it down, we're using a different modality, a different state of consciousness, and we can't remember for a life of us what the great idea was. So that's why using the breath at the end is important. And if there's anything in the mindful state that you want to bring back out with you, you can use that breath. Sometimes just using the breath itself helps, but sometimes you might want to use a mantra. So maybe repeating some key words about what you want to bring back out with you. And then that will help the mind sort of give it an anchor point to remember what was what. But yeah, if you want to know more about that, do a little bit of reading about mindfulness and creativity and problem solving. Talks a lot about techniques to bring these things back out with you. Richard, thanks. Yeah, on the channel, there's a link to the courses at Warwick. So yeah, if anybody's interested in those, a lot of people in the group now have done those, and maybe we'll continue. For those, a lot of us here are from the cultivating group, so that will be continuing in the online format. So if you're interested in that, that'd be quite nice to join in that one. As I say, we'll use the team software for that. That's got a lot more functionality. Yeah, and actually I've been looking at it. It'll be quite nice for us to do other things we might want to do as well. So it's very easy, for example, for us all to post pictures on there. So that might be a nice thing to do, a bit about sort of mindfulness as we do it going around, to share files on there, to share music on there. So lots of different things that we can maybe use that for. So yeah, I'll keep working on that, and I'll let you all know, of course, when I've developed it a little bit more. Well, thanks as always, everybody. Have a great weekend, whatever it might bring for us. And yeah, we'll catch up again here on Monday. I'll schedule Monday to Friday on the YouTube channel, so you'll see those there when you hit that. And yeah, we'll just keep going together. Thanks very much. Hawks, yeah, absolutely. So we've said this before. It's interesting when you set up to explore the mind. It's almost like the mind says, well, actually, if you want to explore it, I'm just going to be calm today. Very odd. But yeah, sometimes we just want to be. Yeah. Lovely. Thanks, everybody. Hopefully see you again soon.